Well, greetings again. This is Dr. Bill Wyatt with the American Orthodontic Society, and I wanted to talk to you this morning some how orthodontic problems originate with the way we take care of the children. And my wife and I and three of our sons spent 3 years in Nigeria, West Africa, as Baptist missionaries. And they gave me a certain area. I did all the dental work I could during the week, and on the weekends I went out into the bush, or not too far from Ibadan, around Ife, and that was the area that I had charge of to watch, see what was going on in those areas, and to go to these churches and start churches in the area. And it worked beautifully well. And there was one town between Ibadan and Abomashaw, Nigeria, that off to the side there was a village, and we had a Baptist school in that town. And I was friends with the missionary who was running this school, and he wanted us to come and check the teeth and cleaning the teeth and everything. And so one week we loaded everybody up in a big old van we had, and the equipment we took with us, and we went to that town to look at their teeth. And I set the boys up outside, and the young men that worked in the office, we could train them to clean teeth, and they're the ones that clean the teeth on everybody. And of course out there we used an old thing, you'd pump it, so one boy would be pumping that and the other would be coming around cleaning the teeth with this rotating cuffs that would clean the teeth and everything. And I was going to fill as many teeth as I could and maybe do orthodontics. We checked it out, and it was astonishing to me that we went in there. I set up one room in the school to do fillings, and we had a instrument from Germany that you could have. All you needed was an air compressor, and you had to make some, you need a generator, and so we carried our own generator, and we set this instrument up, and I was going to fill all these teeth. Well, I got in there and went through with these young people, came and sat down in the chair and everything else, and I filled every tooth in that school, and I could not believe it. I filled only 12 teeth. That's 10 and 2, 12 teeth in the whole school. I just could not believe it. How on earth did I have these children that's all the decay that they had? There was a lot of them. And I found out they did not eat anything sweet. They wouldn't know what a piece of pie was or a cake. They ate the natural foods around there. I'm sure they had fruits and bananas and oranges and things, but they had no fillings, no cavities to speak of. And then as I went through them, checking, I was going to see how many needed orthodontic correction. If you went into people in the United States and took a school like that, you'd have half of them would have malocclusions brought on by two main things. All right. Anyway, there was nobody in that school that needed their teeth straightened. And I just couldn't believe that. I did have one that had a supernumerary, an extra tooth growing in beside here, and I took that tooth out and let the teeth assume a normal position. And that was the only case in that school that needed orthodontic care. And I could not believe that. Okay, so I started working on why did those children in that school have virtually no problems with decay or with crowded and crooked teeth. And so I came to the conclusion that all these children in that school grew up in that area, and they had lived there for thousands of years, I guess. I don't know how long the people had been there in that area. But all of the kids had completely correct teeth. And they were protrusive. And so I got to looking into that, and I found out that the African children nurse until they're about 2.5 or 3 years of age. And if the mother had another child, well, say a year after one was born, she would nurse the young child, but the older one would not get the milk and not nurse anymore. And then the older boy or girl or child would die of kwashiorkor. Now, and I found a child that had that, and I tried to take his picture, and I'm not pulling your leg, but he had a stomach as big as a watermelon sticking out in front of him. And he wouldn't let me take him from the front, so I took it from the back, and I want to bring that picture and show it to you. Now, they call it the younger kills the older. And so if the mother, they learned that they could not have sexual relations with their husbands or anybody until they had this child for about 2.5 or over 2 years, then they could have another child. And they would be about 2.5 or 3 years old, and then they were able to get meat or something with protein that would keep them from being that way. Now, I came back from Africa. I looked everywhere for people that had no orthodontic problem at all, and yet their teeth would be straight. And I looked and looked, and I never found anybody else. But then I got to looking at my wife's teeth, who had gone to Africa with me, with our children, and she had almost perfect teeth. And she had not had any orthodontics. She grew up out into the Comanche National Forest there out of Natchitoches, Louisiana. And she finally told me one time, says, she nursed. She was there with her mother out there in the woods, and nothing. They took care of themselves and did everything. And she had nursed until she was about 2.5 years old. She said, and I got embarrassed nursing. but her teeth were perfect. They were sitting there perfect. Now, you could take people in the United States and look at them, and they're very rarely find somebody that has ideal teeth. That, it wasn't just nursing that kept them from having this problem. It was also mixing people together. Like some big broad-faced person marry somebody with a little skinny-faced person, and one of the children would have the big tooth from the big person, and it would be in the skeletal structure of the smaller, thinner-faced person. And there's no way that those teeth could be straightened up very good and keep all the teeth, except that one of our teachers got hung up on this non-extraction. We don't do any extractions, they said. Well, we, back in 1970s, early 70s, they got to taking out teeth on everybody almost. And that was not right. That left some of them dished in the face. And then they got to arguing over whether you should take any teeth out or not. And they had one group that said, we don't extract bicuspids or things to make room in there for teeth. So they didn't extract them, but to keep from having them so full-faced, they backed everything up back here, and then they had to dig the wisdom teeth out on people like that. And so they said, well, we don't extract teeth. They just pushed the teeth back to keep the person from being so protrusive. And I just could not buy that. And so one family came in, and this dentist referred a patient to me, and he said, I do not want to extract teeth on this child. And I looked at it, and there was no way that child could put all their teeth in there and not be protrusive. Yet I told him, well, okay, I won't take any teeth out or recommend it. So I straightened them all up and put them in there, and I had the mother and I sent the child back to her dentist and requested that. And this young lady, she was all bulged out in front, and that just didn't work. So I came back and took the teeth out, and I looked at the mother and father, and they were totally different type facial structures. And that is all in the United States. We are mixed up people, and that's why you have people that have to have their teeth removed from bicuspids, and then they look perfectly fine. And so I learned that that's the way it had to be. Now I went back and looked at the people that had nursed, and I tried to understand how the people nursing did not, if a person had the right kind of parents, they were all the same size families, they could nurse, and if they nursed, they didn't have to have any orthodontics done. Now this is just a drawing we've drawn here of the way the nose, we breathe in the nose. We have 3 turbinates that come up in this area. Those turbinates are covered in tissue and fine hair in there, and they stay moist all the time. And the air coming in this area goes through, and by those turbinates there's not much space between them, and if the person gets allergic, this would swell up in here and there wouldn't be any airway to speak of in here. It would cut down the airway. Well, when it gets where they can't suck enough air in, people open their mouth down here and breathe in this way. And then if you do that, you have to have the tongue in the bottom arch, and it sticks in here, and you have to breathe over the tongue to do it, and keep the tongue down there, and it pushes out the teeth, and it pushes, and some of the time, some people develop teeth, they'll move out further for the room of the tongue, be like class 3 cases. You jaw will be like that. And for a long time, they left the upper alone. The upper did not form properly when the tongue is in the bottom of the arch. So the children would swallow and use an infantile swallow pattern. Now, they don't bite with the infantile swallow pattern, and children do not bite the breast nerve, the breast of the mother as they're growing up. Now, what difference is it if we have a breast out here and a nipple in this area and like that, and the child nurses the breast here? The breast is right in front of the mouth. The mother holds the child up there, and they nurse sometimes for long periods of time. Maybe there's not getting much milk in there, but they stay like that. Well, we come back, and so American or people in the modern times just can't do much like that. So if you look at what happens if the child is nursing a bottle, and we've got a bottle up here and a nipple coming out from the bottle like that, and they give the bottle to the child, they put the nipple in their mouth like that, and they lay the bottle down on the side of the tooth. A lot of times the child will lay in bed and nurse for long periods of time. Well, that is kind of like sticking your thumb in your mouth and do like that, and you run around with your thumb like that, and you can move the teeth of adults or anybody. I had a man one time that came in at about 40 years of age, and he said, when I was growing up, I had teeth that fit, and they went together. And then about 38 years of age, or something like that, he started taking lozenges. He was a smoker, and he wanted to stop smoking. So he put these lozenges in his mouth, and he had to keep his tongue up there and keep them in this part. And he put his tongue up there and pushed on them to keep them in place. And he came in, and his teeth were sticking out just like a kid that had sucked his thumb. And so I sat down with the man, and I said, did you ever suck your thumb? And he said, no, I don't do that. I never did suck my thumb. Well, I didn't play a clarinet and hold it like this, or I didn't suck on anything and push my teeth out, but they came out. And we could not figure out what caused his teeth to be protruding like that. I left, I was getting behind, and went to work on another patient. In a little bit, the nurse that stayed there with him came in to me and said, Dr. Wyatt, said that man was using lozenges that stick up in the roof of the mouth, and he had to push them out with his tongue to keep them up there. And that little pressure changed that adult's teeth and made them stick out like this. The teeth didn't go out by themselves, they went out with the bone. And that happens to adults as well as children. And so I learned a lot about how people grow. Oh, these people in Africa, they nurse till they're about 2.5 years old or 3, and they live. If they don't do that, and the younger comes along and they don't have any protein in their food, they have this huge stomachs, and I've got a picture of one like that, and you look it up in on your AI, what is kwashiorkor, and you'll see how the stomach of children gets huge when they don't have protein. So this is how, if we want our children, I have a granddaughter right now, a great-granddaughter, who is she swallows like a child, and she's about 6 years old now, and her front teeth are sticking out. And what happened? She nursed, or she held a bottle a lot and kept it out front, and she is getting her front teeth are sticking out now. So she's going to have to go in, and I told them, I've no practice any longer, go see an orthodontist, but first make sure she has a good airway. In other words, take her to an ENT guy and see if the airway is stopping up, and so that makes her breathe through her mouth, and then breathing through the mouth will cause her to swallow improperly. In fact, if you want to check that out, you try to swallow and not bite your teeth together. If you have a normal swallow pattern, I'll guarantee you there's not many people out there can swallow and not bite their teeth together. I've practiced doing that, and I can put my tongue up here and swallow, and you use a different set of muscles to swallow that way. But if you swallow properly, about 3 or 4, somewhere in there, the kids have to change over and start using the adult swallow pattern. You bite together. There's a whole set of different muscles that you use. And over here in the United States, Dr. Harville, years ago, out in San Francisco, took a bunch of rhesus monkeys about the age of young children, that'd be the same age, and he stopped up the noses of these rhesus monkeys. Every one of those monkeys had a malocclusion, but it would be a different thing. And that never happens to rhesus monkeys that aren't messed with like that. And so we know that this is the cause for much of the malocclusion in the United States. We do not nurse properly, and we are mixed up races of people. And if one parent has a broad, big face, the other has a thin face, and if you're born with a thin face and a big tooth, you're going to have extremely crowded teeth, and you have to do orthodontics and take out teeth on those people to get their face to look like Caucasians here in the United States. I never tell them to take out, if people are African descent and they're protrusive and they want to look that way, I did them that way. If they wanted to look more like Caucasian people, then we had to take out some teeth to do that. So this is the conclusion that I came to. And why argue? And the orthodontics of this country argued for several years whether they should or should not take out teeth. It is ridiculous for somebody to say, in this type of country, anywhere that people are mixed up, you're going to have a lot of people that have the big tooth from a big person in the small person's skeletal structure, and it just does not work. I don't care who you are, what race of people you are. If you mix people up like that, you're going to have some of the people that have that problem. And that is the way it is. And so I hope that people that take all these videos we give out and stuff, try to nurse the children, but in our society, they're giving them special little deals to hold that they'll just suck straight in there, and that may save some of them. So I'm going to hush up, but this is a problem why half at least or more of the people in the United States, where we are totally mixed up, have orthodontic problems or more like that. So thank you for watching, and I'm going to hang up here, and I hope you take what I'm saying here to heart and try to raise your children that way. And if you're a small-faced person and you have a husband that is a large, or the wife can be large and the husband is small, it doesn't matter. Some of those children are going to have extremely crowded teeth, and they need to have extractions, and there's no way around it. So it's stupid to say, I never take out teeth. It is foolish. And that's the conclusion I have come to after seeing all this over this period of time. Thank you for watching, and I'm going to hang up and hope that you will take this to heart. And I will close out here. Thank you for watching. I want you to subscribe to our deal. We have over 6,000 subscriptions, and I hope these people are getting something for it, and I hope we get many more thousands. Thank God for the YouTube and the thing that allows us to put these videos on and go all over the world with them. And we've got over 1,000 videos now, and we cover orthodontics from birth or before birth to the end of birth. To the end of our life, I say. I'll be 97 years old in April the 28th of this coming year. And thank God he gave me a little extra time to go in and I came here when I had an internet to spread this all over the world. And we are doing our best to teach people, whether you're black, white, any color, anybody, you can straighten your teeth as long as you're living. But you're going to have to train the orthodontists. They come along and say, you can't do this, you have to do it this way. And older people's teeth cannot be straightened. This is a ridiculous conclusion that the Orthodontic Society has now. And then the orthodontists don't want to let pediatric dentists to do orthodontics. They say that's bad. Every dentist ought to be exposed and shown what can be done to it. If they want to do it, and don't look down. Teach them to do it right. And that's what I hope I have done. And I went to the school, and they said, we're not going to teach people to straighten adults' teeth. We're just not going to do it. And I said, well, if you don't do it, I am going to do it. And with God's help, I have been allowed to live long enough to get this out to the whole world. And I don't mean to be a smart ass about it, but I wanted to, everybody that messes with people's teeth, even people who have children that need orthodontics, they should know things about orthodontics to prevent their child from developing these malocclusions. So thank you for watching, and I will shut up and go.